We're off and running. Welcome back into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all getting set to have a fantastic weekend on this beautiful Friday. A lot to get into here on the show. Did the Philadelphia Eagles leak what their plans are for what they're going to do as far as hiring an offensive coordinator? Speaking of that OC search, a surprising name emerges. Did Howie Roseman reveal what the Eagles' plans are in NFL free agency and during this upcoming offseason? And what did Howie mean when he was asked about trading A.J. Brown? All of that is on the docket. But a reminder, this is your go-to spot for elite Eagles coverage. We don't take breaks here on this show. It's 24/7, 365 with our Eagles content. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. All right, let's begin here in talking about the Eagles offensive coordinator search. A big question regarding the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator search: should the Eagles go after the best candidate, or should the Birds look for continuity, knowing this will be the sixth play caller in 6 years under Nick Sirianni and the 11th in the last 11 years for Jalen Hurts going back to his time at Alabama? Here's what Howie Roseman said during his end of the season press conference yesterday. Quote, "As much as you'd like to have continuity and would like to have guys here for a long period of time, we want to win. We have an urgency to win right now. And if that comes with the ramifications that we lose good people because they've earned head coaching jobs, we'll live with that." I agree with that thought process. The Eagles have to go after the best candidate. Of course, continuity is nice, but the goal for Philadelphia is to win Super Bowls. And what did Howie Roseman also say yesterday? I'm disappointed by how the 2025 season went. If we don't end the year with confetti falling on our heads, it's a failure. And that is the standard of this Eagles organization. So I'm glad that the Eagles are going about this search in that manner. It sucks that Jalen Hurts has had absolutely zero consistency or continuity at offensive coordinator, but the Eagles have to do their due diligence here, and they have to go after the most elite offensive coordinator candidate out there, because that is what makes your football team best. Clip that, social team. There's also this, and speaking of the Eagles OC search, there is a surprising candidate emerging in the Eagles search for an offensive coordinator after Kevin Patullo was let go. Charlie Weis Jr., the Ole Miss offensive coordinator from this past season, who's set to follow Lane Kiffin to LSU if the Eagles don't hire Charlie Weis first. He did some great work this past year with Trinidad Chambliss, turned him into one of the top quarterbacks in college football after Chambliss was a D2 transfer. And he helped Ole Miss win 2 games in the college football playoff, including a legendary victory over Georgia. He, of course, is the son of longtime NFL coach Charlie Weis Sr., who became notable for his work under Bill Belichick. I like the idea of Weis Jr. Has experience as a play caller. He was named the SEC's best play caller in 2024. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie love finding up-and-coming offensive minds, and they are willing to invest there. Weis is known to have this photographic memory. I think back to those clips of Sean McVay recalling plays from like 5-10 years ago. Weis has a little bit of that to his recall. Ole Miss was third in the nation in rushing in 2022. They had the fewest turnovers in the country in 2023. He also developed Jackson Dart into a player who I think his future is bright under John Harbaugh. Ole Miss was second in the nation in passing yards this past year. I think that Weis can get the best out of Jalen Hurts, but maximize playmakers like Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. And Ole Miss did a good job of playing clean football while generating explosive plays. Eagles Eric with some of those great numbers. And what the Eagles could do is potentially develop him as a future head coach if Nick Sirianni doesn't work out. I'm a big Nick Sirianni guy. Howie Roseman said yesterday he has so many elite qualities, but if it doesn't work out, and if Weis does a great job as OC, that could be a developmental head coach for your staff. Clip that as well, social team. We're in our bag here. Did the Eagles also reveal their plans for what they're going to do this upcoming offseason? Howie Roseman yesterday said something very interesting, and he ended his press conference in saying this, and he wanted to make sure that the cameras were rolling here. Can I clarify one thing, Howie said? I think it's important for our fans to understand you can do whatever it takes to win now, and still build for the future and still have those parallel paths. I just don't want it to get confused that we can't do whatever it takes to build a championship caliber team next year and also continue to have really good players on this team for the future. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page on that. That is a clear message from Howie Roseman as he's about to embark on Howie season to this fan base in trying to relay what expectations should be. Of course, what does that mean? To me, I think the Eagles have a lot of money right now tied into the offensive side of the football while they have drafted and developed on the defensive side of the ball. That might change and that might flip. The Eagles might have to now draft and develop on offense and then spend on defense, the inverse of what they've done over the last couple of years, because Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, those players, extension eligible, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, just named first team All-Pros, they will be extension eligible soon. So I think this could also mean that the Eagles might have to let go of some high-price free agents, a Jalen Phillips, given that he's one of the top pass rushers on the market, Reed Blankenship if he gets paid, a Nakobe Dean, and you do have some good linebacker depth there. So if you're an Eagles fan and you want the Eagles to bring all these players back, it might be hard to do that, but keep in mind that Howie has a plan here, and the plan is that this defense, which is still one of the youngest units in the NFL and one of the cheapest in the NFL, is going to become expensive. So I expect Howie Roseman to maybe go offensive heavy early in the NFL draft, address offensive line, address wide receiver, address tight end. Dallas Goedert is another player who the Eagles simply might have to let go. Howie also said this, and it was a little bit of a heat check moment for him, that 14 of the 15 players that the Eagles have drafted the first 2 days since Nick Sirianni became head coach in 2021 have developed into long-term starters. You don't believe me? Those players, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt, Jahad Campbell, and Drew Makuba. Of course, the jury is out on the rookies in Campbell and Makuba, and Tyler Steen was a fine player, not a great player, but those have been some really important building blocks to the Eagles' success over the last few years. The one player not included, Sidney Brown, who hasn't developed into a good starter, and I don't think that he's going to be a good starter at the safety spot, but is a very valuable special teams player. And then lastly, of course, Howie was asked about the A.J. Brown trade, and this end of the season press conference was classic Philadelphia with Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni up there. You know, you had that Jags reporter the other day after the Jags season was ended by the Bills in the wild card round, complimenting Liam Cohen and saying, you got to keep your head up. That would never happen in a city like Philadelphia. You have media members who, for other teams in other cities, are very polite, right? They don't fight over one another in trying to ask a question. You turn on that Eagles press conference yesterday, and all the reporters are trying to get their questions in, and everybody is talking over one another. And Howie Roseman's like, I feel like we should have deli slips here. And we just hand them out, and whoever's number is up next, you can ask a question. And I've been a part of these media scrums alongside a lot of these Philadelphia media members. And, I've had to fight to get my question in, whether it be at the NFL Combine or it be at the Super Bowl or in another setting. It is highly competitive, but you don't get that in every media market where it's like a bunch of sharks in the sea going after some bait in some chummy waters. I love the aggression at times of the Philadelphia media. I do believe that at times it can be a little bit too much, but it's because they know that the fans are very passionate about the Eagles. They take their jobs very seriously because they want to provide the best coverage. And Eagles fans should appreciate that, because this is not the case in many other cities across the nation and across the NFL. So Howie Roseman, within one of these questions, was asked about trading A.J. Brown. And he said this: it's hard to find great players in the NFL, and A.J.'s a great player. From my perspective, that's what we're going out and looking for. when we go out in free agency and the draft, it's to find great players who love football. A.J. Brown is that guy. That would be my answer. Kind of left the door open, I think, right? He didn't say, no, we're not trading A.J. Brown. He didn't say, yes, we are trading A.J. Brown. I think that Howie and the coaching staff, they're still in this information gathering process where they need to figure out what free agents would they target if they traded A.J. Brown? What players in the draft could they target if they trade away A.J. Brown? Is there any way for them to massage and manipulate the cap if they were to trade away A.J. Brown? All of those things go into this conversation because there's the dead money pre-June 1. There's the dead money post-June 1. How does that alter the asking price if the Eagles hold on to A.J. after June 1? Because then teams know, okay, they're definitely trading him if they draft a wide receiver. So Howie Roseman's a smart guy, has his pulse on this thing, and he wants to gather as much information as possible. My read right now, wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles trade A.J. Brown. Wouldn't be surprised if he's back in 2026. What I'd want the Eagles to do and what I'm an advocate for, hire an offensive coordinator who can get Jalen Hurts back on track. Jalen Hurts has shown that he can play at an elite level when he has a competent offensive coordinator. Brian Johnson, Kevin Patullo were not competent offensive coordinators. And bring in an OC here who can maximize the likes of Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown and put them in positions to succeed. How often in the NFL playoffs, whether it's Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, do you see a Sean McVay, a Ben Johnson, a Kyle Shanahan scheming guys wide open? How often this year did you see Eagles players running wide open to make Jalen Hurts' life easier? It rarely happened because Kevin Patullo didn't scheme guys open because he wasn't cut out for the job. This is going to be an awesome offseason. I've got you covered every step of the way. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Just wanted to talk birds here on this Friday. Of course, we're going to clip some of these clips for social media and for YouTube Shorts. You can find me on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, at Chase_Senior. I'm also on Facebook, Chase Senior Chat Sports. All my content everywhere has been taken off. I just got a shout out on Pardon My Take for some of the work that I do covering the NFL. So really appreciate all of your support. Thanks to everybody for watching. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll have a perfect offseason plan video coming out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Another video coming out on Sunday, and of course, if there's any breaking news too, we'll get into that as well. Go Birds.